Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Apples and Ginos Fantasy Hockey Podcast. This is week 18 of Trade Talks. My name is Evan, and I'm joined here by Ryan today. Today, we'll provide our trade targets, get some trade grades, and some real trades from the listeners, and play a game of Would You Rather. Here we go. All right, everyone. Welcome on in. Today it's just Ryan and I. Unfortunately, Brian will not be joining us. We will miss him dearly. No booms today, but we'll get him back soon. So, Ryan, how you feeling today?
Oh, not bad. Definitely not giving myself any booms, but apologies for the voice if I have a little bit of a cold, but I hope Evan will carry the load today.
Trying to carry. All right. Well, we're going to start the show off with the very obvious news here. Artemi Panarin is now a member of the LA Kings. Ryan and I were talking off air. I feel very personal about this because in all of my leagues, I have Artemi Panarin, every single one. So, how do we all feel about this? I feel like for the most part, the fantasy hockey community, sighed a huge sigh when they saw this news. There were rumblings of almost every team in contention to land him as a trade destination. I'm sure most people were kind of hoping for maybe more of a rental situation with Colorado, Dallas, Tampa. I even heard some of like Edmonton, but instead he goes to the LA Kings. The full deal is he goes there for a conditional third-round pick and Liam Greentree, who is a prospect, and the New York Rangers retain 50% of his salary, and he signed a 2-year, $11 million average annual value deal. The big question is, how does this affect his fantasy value? For me personally, I think a lot of people are thinking this is kind of going to decrease his value. I'm really not there. I think if anything, it's kind of a push. Anywhere is better than the Rangers right now. I feel like it was kind of killing his value a little bit. I mean, he still got 57 points in 52 games. He was, on pace to kind of do what he does. I think Adam Fox being out really hurt him as well in that power play, but the vibes were not good in that locker room and still aren't, I don't believe. And I think Chris Drury really kind of like fumbled the bag here, in my opinion, with sending this letter out saying they were going to ship him out and kind of with what they did. But I think he has an opportunity here in LA to kind of show he's still the guy. I think it's going to be interesting what they do. Right off rip, Ryan, I want to get your opinion just in general about this.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed. I think fantasy hockey would have preferred him to go to maybe Colorado, maybe Tampa Bay, a juggernaut like that, or even like Toronto or San Jose would have been cool. But this is kind of lame in my opinion. And I'm also surprised that like Panarin allegedly was like, no, this is the only team that I want to go to. So I'm really curious his reasoning. What's in LA? Like, does he have family there? I don't know. But he wants to go there and go to a pretty good team, but not a contender. And yeah, I think this doesn't necessarily hurt his value, but it definitely doesn't boost his value. The Kings have one of the league's worst power play this season. But Jim Hiller, he likes to split the power play. He likes to give power play 2 plenty of time. And I think this might force Jim Hiller to be like, okay, I have some stars. Maybe I'll give a top power play unit the majority of the time, like I should, with Panarin, and maybe that'll improve the LA Kings power play, and Panarin's value will stay pretty close to what he was at on the Rangers.
Yeah, I think, it's interesting. Like, what are the lines going to look like? To your point, like he was spreading the lines out. To me, for my money, I think I would be most excited if he ended up with Byfield and Fiala on that line. They're getting the most ice time at even strength. And I think just their rush play would probably be the most exciting because Panarin is a really good rush player. And it adds another finisher because I feel like Byfield hasn't been doing that this year, but they had Kuzmenko on that line at even strength before this. So another good spot would be like Kopitar, Kempe, Panarin. Either of those two lines I think could really do something for him. Power play, like you mentioned, that's going to be really the interesting part of this. I think they really should run a top power play. They have the pieces to do it. You could go Kempe, Fiala, Brandt, Clark, Kopitar, and then Panarin. I think that's a pretty solid, top power play if they were to run it that way. But yeah, really interested to see how this all unfolds moving forward. I really think, to me, the only knock on this move for Panarin fantasy-wise is the playoff schedule. He had an amazing playoff schedule with the Rangers. The LA Kings have kind of a middle-of-the-road playoff schedule, especially for like the semis and the finals. So, but I think if anything, like you said, Ryan, I think his value kind of stays the same to me as an individual player. We all had like higher ceilings for him on those other teams with better players. But yeah, feel free to send us your comments or questions about Panarin. I know a lot of people kind of had some, but moving on.
Yeah. All right. We can get into some other newsies around the league. Not as exciting, but Gabe Landeskog and Marty Necas remained out tonight for the Avs. But they said Landeskog is good to go for the Olympics. And Sam Bennett and Anton Lundell made returns to the Panthers tonight. This is like the nice newsies page. It's not talking about injuries. It's talking about who's returning from injury. And then Darren Radish has been on absolute fire. I don't know if that's newsies relevant, but 5 goals, 9 points in his last 5. And I watched, a highlight reel of just him taking slappers, scoring tons of goals this year. And I think it'll be interesting when Hedman comes back. Evan, I think you got some stuff to say about Hedman, but we'll leave that for the next bit. Kiefer Sherwood returns from injury tonight, and he is on a line with Celebrini and Will Smith, so that's pretty exciting for him. Second power play, but top line. And Alex Lafreniere just lately has been getting more time on ice, and he's on the top power play unit, so definitely someone to keep an eye on. In New York, I wouldn't expect amazing things from Lafreniere, but with the Rangers playoff schedule, I picked him up in a spot just to be able to have him for that playoff schedule if he does pick things up a bit in the top 6 on the Rangers.
I did the same. Yeah, real quick on Radish. They showed a stat during the last game that he had something like 80 shot attempts that were over 90 miles an hour this year, which is insane to me. Like, he does have a clap bomb. Like, there's no denying it. So, yeah, really interesting stuff from Darren Radish, at his age and coming into the league here. Second part of the newsies, Nick Bjugstad was traded to the Devils for a conditional 4th round, and Thomas Bordeleau. I don't really know what to make of this. It's interesting considering that the Devils, are they going for it? No, I don't really think so. I don't know. It to me, it doesn't really do anything for fantasy, but it was a trade that was made. The more important one of the day, obviously. Jack Hughes also remains out. It said something like the team doctors didn't really like where he was at, but we'll see if he plays for the Olympics. I would assume that he does. There was a comment that he made, when the reporter asked him, well, what do you say to the fans that are basically concerned about the direction of the team? And he's like, I don't care. Did you see that full comment, Ryan?
No. Was this recently?
Yeah, he had an interview, and it basically was it was a very dismissive answer. And I don't know, to me, it's it seemed like he didn't handle it the right way. He's clearly frustrated, probably with injury and with how the team's doing as well. But yeah, it's very interesting with the Devils as a whole, but Jack Hughes in particular, moving forward. Cirelli, unfortunately, was injured in this last game, and he's out until after the Olympic break. They announced Sam Bennett as a replacement, so that'll be interesting not only for fantasy but the Olympics. And then, so that's kind of what we got. We got some comments from the Breadman himself. Can you please talk about Klingberg and Luke Hughes? Well, for my money, Klingberg was off the top power play. He was scratched 2 games ago, and now he's off the top power play in favor of what appears to be a 5-man forward unit tonight, I believe.
Yep.
So yeah, if Klingberg is off the top power play, he has little to no value to me. And Luke Hughes remains injured, and I haven't heard any update on his timetable. So I think that's where we're at with both of them, Ryan, right?
Yeah. Got nothing to add.
Is LA a good playoff team? Thoughts on Byfield now? LA will be like a good real life playoff team. In terms of fantasy hockey schedule, they are not. They have 4 games in the first that marks March 16th start date, I believe, and then 3 games in each week after that. They only have like a handful of off nights, I believe, too. Like maybe only 2.
I think they're both in the week 21 as well. So the semis and the finals for most leagues, it's just like 3 games, heavy nights.
Yeah, standard stuff. So not a good playoff schedule for fantasy. For Byfield, if Panarin ends up on a line with him, I think that'll be really good. We'll see how the lines kind of shake out in the power play as well. I would really think that they're going to run like a heavy top power play with the acquisition of Panarin. In terms of the even strength line, whoever Panarin plays with is going to get a boost for sure. But they may kind of still be in flex as the season moves on until they find something that they like. Need to beef up for the playoffs, dropping Levshunov for one of Klingberg, Renzel, Coyle, Cernak, McNabb, Faravari, Quinn. Cats include hits, blocks, plus minus. So dropping one, I'm assuming some of these are forwards. Like I'm assuming he meets Charlie Coyle and I don't know if that's Jack. Quinn. Yeah. Your boy Jack Quinn, Ryan. I'm assuming that's where you're going with this.
Yeah, I'd pick him up at the moment. I think he's still in the top power play, and he's kind of on fire lately. So I don't know about beefing up for the for the playoffs in terms of dropping Levshunov for one of those guys, but I just treat this spot as a streaming spot at the moment in your league.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. I do think Renzel is interesting with Levshunov. I think they're saying like Jeff Blashill was saying like they're benching him to work on the basics. Like it seems so strange. Like, I mean, when you watch Levshunov play, it is interesting because I feel like he has a decent shot, but like his like offensive awareness and passing and skating all look pretty like subpar to me for like a top pair PP1 defenseman playing with Bedard. So Renzel looks really good actually, and I think skating wise and even defensively, he's done quite well. So I think Renzel would be a good replacement, obviously, and he may stay in that spot like rest of the season. You never know. Nightbane, how do you keep up the good work? Thanks for being here, my friend. Teed up 8 evening, gents. Very interested to see how you graded my trade. We will get there. We will absolutely get there. Apologies if I missed it, but what are both of your guesses for power play makeup for LA? I kind of went over it briefly, but I'll say Kopitar, Fiala, Kempe, Brant Clark, and Panarin to me is my best bet. Ryan, do you have any on that?
Yeah, my only question mark is like, are they gonna just leave Kopitar off and get Kuzmenko up there or Byfield up there? That would be the only question mark for me, but I think they'll start with Kopi.
Yeah, I think really like, I mean, he's the best face-off guy there. So to me, it would be like to maintain possession. But yeah, in terms of like who would be best in the power play, honestly, Corey Perry, net front, probably like outside of any of those guys. But we'll see how it shakes out. All right, now we're into our trade targets, our standard who we're going for, who we're trying to acquire moving forward. You got little time left. The trade deadline's coming up, so we got to make some moves here. For me, this is going to be a spicy one, and I'm going to see your take on this, Ryan. Victor Hedman. I think, Victor Hedman comes back. He played like 10 minutes the first game in the outdoor game, which was phenomenal, by the way. And he got little time in the next game as well. And Darren Radish still scoring, still doing all these things, still PP1. So I think you're looking at this like Hedman managers were kind of waiting for him to come back and saying, well, it's Victor Hedman. He's the captain. He's going to get back, to PP1 and, he's going to get to work. And I think Darren Radish is going to stay on PP1. I really do. I was skeptical about it as well at first, but Darren Radish is playing too well to take him off right now. And I think even if he struggles, that right-handed option from the point for Kucherov is just a lethal threat for him. So I think Darren Radish, for my money, is going to stay PP1 rest of year. And But I still think Victor Hedman could be useful for fantasy. I think people think like, oh, like without PP1, he's going to be nothing. Like, I still think he can pace for 50 points. I mean, Kucherov has, what was it? It's like 70 plus points in the last 30 games. Like, by association, when he gets back to like actually regular minutes heading into like the playoffs and everything, the fantasy hockey playoffs, I think Hedman can pace for 50 points, even strengthened with the minutes he's going to get. The only risk is really if this injury flares up again. But I think his asking price is way, way down. I think you could get Victor Hedman for pennies on the dollar. I don't think he's, again, necessarily going to get back to PP1, but he's still a valuable defenseman for fantasy hockey. And if you can find a manager that's willing to sell him for kind of either a mid or lower tier defenseman, or even just a winger that gets hot, like, and you need a defenseman, I still think he could be like a great like third or fourth defenseman.
Yeah, interesting. Like I think as long as you're not overpaying for the name value of Victor Hedman, I'm all for it. I think 50-point pace without really any power play time might be a ceiling. And I really think Tampa will have a tough time taking Radish off the top power play, as you said. So yeah, I'd expect 40 to 50.
Do we lose you, Ryan? Can I hear you still?
You did lose me. I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Okay. All right. Yeah. Finishing up your take on that.
As long as we are not overpaying and we're expecting 40 to 50-point pace, I'm all for it.
All right. I lost you almost like the Rangers just lost Panarin for nothing. Ayo. All right. your take here, your trade target, Ryan.
Yeah. All right. Well, this it could be a waiver wire target in some leagues, trade target in others, but we're going for Brandt Clark here. I think whoever owns Brandt Clark will be pretty excited about the Panarin trade, so it might be tough to go for him. But I think there's really a very high ceiling for Clark to finish the season. If they go a true top power play and Clark's on it, that'll like really boost his value. He's finally being trusted with like more than 21 minutes of average time on ice lately. And his on ice scoring chances for per 60 is in the top 30 among defensemen. He's shooting the puck more lately. He's got 2.4 shots on goal per game over the last 2 weeks. I think Clark could, he's always had such a high potential, such a high ceiling. He's been one of the best defensive prospects for a while. And we could see like a huge burst to finish the season if all goes right. And if Jim Hiller plays a top power play. So there's tons of potential there. I wouldn't overpay. I wouldn't expect him to be like a top 10 fantasy defenseman. But if you can sell guys like Matthias Samuelsson or Nikishin or maybe even Brock Faber, I would rather have Brandt Clark than all of those guys. I just think he's a guy where don't overpay, but you could trade for him. If it pans out, great, as long as you didn't overpay. And his ceiling is super high.
Yeah, I really like that. I'm a big Brandt Clark believer even before the Panarin trade. So I really like this. And I think, as the season rolls on, like Doughty got he's on like the pairing with the least amount of minutes over the past few games, which is interesting to me. But yeah, Brandt Clark's really showing out. And I think this only is going to help his value moving forward. All right. We're getting into our trade grades here. So make sure to get into the Discord, send us your trades. We'll go over them here, give them a trade grade, and let's get into it. Let's get into the first one here. So the first one is from a league that I was in. APL, except D-men get an extra point and faceoffs are worth 0.1. This manager was giving away Josh Morrissey and Zuccarello and receiving Darren Radish and Mikael Granlund.
All right. Yeah. In my opinion, great trade. I'm giving this an A-. We can't say any more good things about Darren Radish. I think he's no longer a waiver wire guy. He's no longer a no-name guy. He is one of the top fantasy defensemen in the league, and I think he will stay that way. So, yeah, I think Radish over Morrissey, big upgrade. Small downgrade, in my opinion, from Zuccarello to Granlund. I would have preferred a better forward back, and that's why I'm in the minus range, but still in the A range.
Absolutely. I give it an A. Same reasons as you. I love Darren Radish. The manager that traded for or that traded Morrissey and Zuccarello away no, I'm sorry, the one that traded Radish away was looking for a better floor, which has been established with Morrissey. But the question is how low is that floor this year with the Jets being as bad as they are? They went from the President's Trophy winners to being anemic offensively, and Josh Morris, he really hasn't been as involved in the offense as you'd like him to be. I mean, he's still pacing for good numbers, but Darren Radish is doing unbelievable stuff. The question is, can he maintain that? But the answer looks like yes for now. So, yeah, I agree about the Zuccarello for Granlund downgrade, but yeah, just getting Darren Radish, and this is nuts. So that's enough for me. Trade number 2, we got a 12-team Cats league. Goal, assist, power play points, shorthanded points, shots on goal, hits, blocks. A keep 5 with 4-year keeper contract submitted by TDub_8. Giving away Elias Pettersson, Troy Terry, a first and a third, and receiving Braden Point, Cutter Gauthier, and a 6th and a 7th. For me, I give this one a B+. I definitely would do this trade. I think you're getting really good pieces back in Point and Cutter Gauthier. I think, again, once Leo Carlson gets healthy, I think that's going to even help Cutter Gauthier down the stretch more. Braden Point has been skating, so it looks like he's going to be back. I really actually hope as a Braden Point owner that he doesn't go to the Olympics and he just gets to rest for our fantasy hockey playoffs. The only reason I didn't give this an A was kind of giving up the first and the third. I don't know that I guess the value's kind of there, but it still felt slightly steep to me. And then I know Pettersson's kind of not been great, but Troy Terry has been too, but still would make the trade and be happy with it overall.
Yeah. I give this one a B-. I am still doing this trade if this is like the best I can get, but I think there's just things left on the table here. It's a keep 5, so Pettersson, Terry are not going to be keepers. Point, like Gauthier, like maybe they're in the keeper range, just in the top 60. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, the guy who's selling Point and Gauthier to you for the first and third, he's getting back some decent skaters here in Pettersson and Terry. And my question is just like, why does this guy need decent skaters back if he's selling? He's selling assets. He's getting assets for the future in the picks. Why not just go all out and not give him any skaters back? That's how I roll in most of my keeper leagues. If I'm going for it, I'm going for it. I'm trading, and I'm not giving away any skaters. Actually, in our keeper league, Evan, I was negotiating a trade, and this person wanted me to give up Jared McCann going back, and I'm just like, no, Jared, like he's one of my guys. You're the one selling assets, and yeah, if I'm selling in those leagues, like I don't need anything in return. I want future assets, so that's why I'm just on the edge here of doing this. I think like there's a way to get Point, Gauthier, and still keep Terry and Pettersson. Maybe you give a first and a second. Maybe that's what you give up.
Yeah. Maybe the thought was like, if he's getting Gauthier, he doesn't want to be too high on the Ducks with Terry as well. Or I don't know, maybe he didn't really give his full team, but I get your understanding of that too. Like having to give up like good or better skaters, like when you're already giving up the picks. Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, I did. Sorry, Evan, I got a little more info here. The guy who is selling is still in a playoff spot. He is in the sixth playoff spot, but he didn't think he could win. So he did want like some players back. But I think,
too greedy.
If I was in that league, I'd just be like, if you're selling, you're selling.
Yeah. You got to commit to the sell. Absolutely. Like what if Pettersson has a run here? The Canucks show a little something at the end of the season,
Yeah.
Breadman kind of clarified too. Sorry for the question above. Guaranteed to make the playoffs with no bye. Who you got the best lock out of those guys when he was talking about dropping Lev Shunov for one of these?
I don't think any are locks.
Yeah, I don't think any are locks, but I think you said Quinn. I would say Rinzel for right now, personally. If you need a defenseman, if it doesn't matter to you that you don't have the defenseman, then I agree with Quinn. But if you look at the defenseman, I'd take Rinzel for sure. All right, getting into trade grade number 3. Bangers Cats. The Cats are goals, assists, shots on goal, power play goals, power play assists, hits, blocks, shorthanded points submitted by Yoshi Woollyworm. He's giving away Bo Horvat, and he's receiving Thomas Harley. I don't like this trade. I'm giving it an F. I probably could have been a little bit nicer. I'm a big Bo Horvat believer too, though, so bias is there. I think that Bo Horvat rest of the season, he gets shorthanded points too. He's shorthanded. He gets power play. He gets even strength. Him and Barzal are really the drivers of that offense, and the Islanders and Schaefer too. But I just don't think Thomas Harley, outside of a Miro Heiskanen injury, is really going to do much for you fantasy wise down the stretch. Like he'll be a decent like fourth or fifth defenseman, just getting even strength stuff. But Dallas's top power play is the one that gets to work, and that's occupied by Miro Heiskanen. So yeah, I don't think that you're getting enough back. I know this person needed a defenseman, but I just think you probably could have gotten something a little better for Bo Horvat.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not giving it an F, but I give it a D, just because of my preseason love for Thomas Harley, and
Shocker.
my hope that he is one day gonna get on that top power play, but he won't. It won't happen.
Yeah, that was one of my takes. I'm gonna live with and continue to toot my own horn there of the Miro Heiskanen one. I was happy enough to get Heiskanen in one spot. I didn't get him in many more, but I'm certainly happy in that spot. All right, trade number 4, Cats League. We got goals, assists, power play points, plus minus, PIMs, face-off win, shots on goal, hits, and blocks. We're giving away Roman Josi and receiving Jack Hughes. And I believe the context was he's in a playoff spot. He had other solid defensemen. He's trying to gear up here. Submitted by Alex. Ryan.
Yeah. So this one for me is a B-. I am doing this trade. I think you have to do this trade. But Roman Josi, he's just been amazing lately, and he's actually started to get the Roman Josi ice time treatment, like up in the 28, 29 minute range. And I think that if that sticks all season, he might be a top 5 defenseman, top 5 fantasy defenseman, right over Rasmus Dahlin. Yes. Who knows? So that's why it's like I'm just on the edge here. But Jack Hughes, like he's got so much potential if he's in the lineup for your fantasy playoffs. And I think like you have to do this. You have to take that potential. He could be a league winner for you. Although, man, Jack Hughes missing out on tons of fantasy playoffs over the last few years. It's a tough one, but I think I would have to do it right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to comment real quick on that comment that you made, Ryan, about a top 5 fantasy hockey defenseman. As we continue to revisit fantasy hockey court, since we revisited, Dahlin in 3 more games played has 5 assists. So as he continues to be a point per game defenseman and making his push for the top 5. I'll never be not that petty, by the way, to everyone. My grade here is a B on this one. I agree with everything you said, Ryan, about obtaining Jack Hughes. He is pretty much the only one from the Devils that I really want to buy in on. The problem is I think the asking price is still too high. Like the guy can't stay healthy, like whether it be freak injury, whether it be like a real injury, like from the upcoming Olympics maybe, or even after that. Like, I don't know. And I feel like the Devils are just a dejected team right now, and the vibes are not good. So team environment's bad. The player is very proven to be injury prone. He's a point per game player right now, like 36 points in 36 games. But like, what are we really expecting from him? Like rest of season play? Some people are thinking that the Devils are just all of a sudden going to turn a corner and be like this high flying offense again. I just don't see it rest of season. So, with every point that Roman Josi gets, this becomes a little bit more difficult for me to be like, yeah, but it still is Jack Hughes. So I would do it.
Yeah.
Trade number. Sorry. Did you have something?
Yeah, just I was just looking at recent stats, and Dahlin has been going nuts. He's over the last month. He's second in APL points, behind Evan Bouchard. Roman Josi's right there, third. So like, yeah, again, this trade is real tough. I am a Josi owner in a couple leagues, and I've really enjoyed the last month. It's been nice.
Yeah. No, in the APL, I'm a Roman Josi owner, and that was not looking good as like a second or early third round pick for me. But now I'm really reaping the rewards. I think a comment to make on Nashville as a whole is, I was talking to my buddy, and he's really high on Steven Stamkos. Like, oh, he's going to continue doing what he's doing, and Ryan O'Reilly and all these things. We have to remember that, one, I don't think that all of this is completely sustainable from Nashville, number one. Number two, they have to be sellers at the deadline. Like if they don't, it's going to be like a shock to me and I think a lot of people. So if they sell off Ryan O'Reilly, Marcia Show, some of these other pieces, they're not going to be the same team, and I think that's going to hurt them down the stretch in terms of Yossi, Forsberg, some of these guys. At least like if they lose O'Reilly, like that's a huge blow to me at least.
Yeah, I think Yossi, like he's shown what he could do with not much help on the team as like their main driver of offense in the last 4 years. So I'm not too worried about Yossi.
Yeah, he's probably the one that could endure that the most. All right, getting into trade grade number 5 here. We got a 12-team points league. Goals are 6.5, assists 4.5, shorthanded points are 1, power play points are 1, shots on goal 0.7, hits 0.7, blocks are 1. Submitted by Luciano. Giving away Joel Eriksson Ek and Sergachev, and receiving Adam Fantilli and Hedman. And I believe, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, he did this more for playoff scheduling more than anything. That was in the context.
Yeah, that was some added context. He's looking at adding games for his playoff schedule, week 21 to 23.
Which is a good thought. To me, I give this trade a C+. I would not do this trade strictly because you're giving up the 2 better players in the trade, really. Like Joel Eriksson Ek, to me, has much more fantasy value than Adam Fantilli, at least at this moment. I understand that he's going to get like another game played out of that compared to Joel Eriksson Ek, but Minnesota's flying right now. That top power play is absolutely lethal with Quinn Hughes and Kaprizov. So, and Matt Bull, you just scored a hat trick. So G got in on 1 or 2 of those. Like, I wouldn't do that. And then Sergachev, the Hedman, like, again, I do like Hedman rest of season, but we've established that we believe Darren Radish is going to keep top power play, and Sergachev is locked in on the top power play in Utah, and he's been doing pretty good for himself recently as well. Probably like a top 10 to 12 defenseman. Like, so I know the final schedule for Utah is awful, but I'd still rather have those 2 players that are more secure and going to get more points on a game-to-game basis, I think.
Yep. I agree with you here. Even more so, I'm giving this a C. I think it's a good thought. Look for the playoff schedule, but I think the value here, you're giving up way too much. Eriksson Ek to Fantilli. Fantilli's going to give you 2 more games over the playoffs. In that first week, they actually play the same Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then Fantilli just gives you an extra game on the Sunday. Same with the semifinals week. And then in the finals week, it's exactly the same Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So Fantilli isn't going to give you many off nights. It's those 2 extra games, which are on off nights, which is good. But yeah, each week with Eriksson Ek's ceiling, with the Minnesota players around him, even if Fantilli gets an extra game played, Eriksson Ek is very likely to outscore him. So I don't like that trade in particular. And then, yeah, even Tampa Bay to Utah, you're getting 2 extra games from Tampa Bay, but I think similarly with Hedman off the top power play, the ceiling for Sergachev to just pile up some power play points and outscore Hedman is too high, and I don't like this trade. I'm not going to do it.
Man, we're being rough today on these trades, Ryan. We gotta pick it up here.
Got to make sure people make the right decisions.
That's right. So our 6th trade, we got a 12-team points league, goals and hat tricks 2, assists 1, power play points, shorthanded points, blocks 0.5, shots and goal and hits 0.1, submitted by Kamikaze as a strat, giving away Austin Matthews and Nico Hischier, and receiving Macklin Celebrini and Wyatt Johnston. Wow.
Yeah, wow, blockbuster and really interesting for the times with 2 up-and-coming players versus 2 solidified players. I am giving this trade a B. I would do this trade. I think it's very interesting. Celebrini, I think I'm taking Celebrini over Matthews at this point, rest of the season, and their playoff schedule is very similarly poor, so that's not really a factor here. And then Joe over Nico Hischier, I'm taking all day. So great value, and I'm doing it. And as soon as I saw this trade, I'm like, Wow, Macklin Celebrini and Wyatt Johnston. These are Evan's guys. And I'm excited to see Evan's grade.
This is going to be our biggest difference in the grade. I'm giving this an A plus. I mean, this is a smash of a trade to me. Like, and this is kind of something that I'm taking into like next year's draft. I think like looking at some of these like players that we value very highly, like an Austin Matthews, but then looking at the actual real performance numbers in a Macklin Celebrini that's younger and has that drive. There's something about Austin Matthews. I read a quote somewhere from one of the reporters or a hockey analyst or something like talking about how Austin Matthews is constantly looking at his iPad on the bench. Did you see that, Ryan, at all? I can't remember who it was.
I didn't see that report.
It's just like, what is he doing? Like what kind of a leader just sits there every play? He was like analyzing it. Like every play I watch him, he's looking at the damn iPad. Like, it is interesting. Like I'm not a Leafs fan, so I don't watch a ton of Toronto games and I don't have a ton of pieces of them in fantasy, but it seems to me Austin Matthews doesn't have like that fire or like, that kind of like, I don't know. I kind of want him almost to get like angry at the media and tell him like, I'm going to be like a 60 goal scorer again. We're going to win the playoffs. Like, I don't know. That to me is like how I view Austin Matthews right now. I think Macklin Celebrini is, we've talked about before. I think he's going to go in the first round in drafts next year. I think he outscores Matthews rest of the season. And then again, Wyatt Johnston to Nico Hischier, you nailed it. It's like Wyatt Johnston is going to lead the league in power play goals this year. And he's a huge engine on that team playing with Rantanen. Nico Hischier is a good player, but the Devils are just, there's something wrong with him right now. So until that gets sorted out next year, I'm all about this trade.
Yeah. And yeah, with Austin Matthews, I am a Leafs fan, and I agree with you. I think Matthews is not a cutthroat winner, and things aren't looking good for the Leafs. And Willie Nylander, though, gotta say, he looks great.
He does. I actually, it's interesting as a Leafs fan, I'll ask you, like, I mean, as a non-Leafs fan, when I watch the games though, and have had them in fantasy in prior years, outside of having Matthews for his career year, I like Willie Nylander's game more, honestly, for what he does. Like, I know Matthews is better defensively, and that's kind of what he's been asked to do, I feel like, a bit, but I like what I see from Nylander more too.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the last Leafs game, and Nylander had a bunch of good defensive plays, as well as putting up offense. So, give me Willie, and as a Leafs fan, as a biased Leafs fan, I'd be happy to trade Matthews, but it's not going to happen. We're not going to get the value of Matthews. But one I had cooked up in my mind was with Utah, former Arizona, and I was like, give me Dylan Guenther and TJ Ginla and a first. No, I think that would be an overpay. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that would be TJ. Yeah, that'd be really good.
Guenther, TJ Ginla, and a first. Do you think that's fair for Austin Matthews?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, who's if you did that, like you said, like a season or two ago, I mean, like it's hard because you wouldn't have known Dylan Guenther then, but man, that would have been really good. So now we'll get into the Would You Rather segment. We do this a few times instead of Fantasy Hockey Court. I cooked this one up for Ryan. Interested to see what he thinks here. We got Jack Hughes versus Artemi Panarin. Now, Jack Hughes, 36 points in 36 games played. Panarin, 57 points in 52 games played. Obviously gets traded to the LA Kings, Fantasy Hockey Wasteland, under Jim Hiller. Devils are a disgrace right now. No 5-on-5, barely have a power play. His brother's out indefinitely. Ryan, I'll go to you first. Who are you taking rest of season?
Yeah, this one's an interesting one, but my hand is forced. I can't pick Panarin here. I got to pick Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes just has more coverage in shots on goal, potential power play points, especially with Panarin on the Kings, and their points could be very similar. So in most fantasy hockey leagues, Jack Hughes is just going to be the better option if they're both going. There is the risk, but we always take that risk into account when we draft Jack Hughes over Artemi Panarin in all the past 4 years anyway. And I think I'm still doing that for the rest of the season. How about you?
I'm going to get spicy and go off the wall here. I'm taking Artemi Panarin. And it may sound crazy, but I think I'm going to bank on the health of Artemi Panarin versus Jack Hughes moving forward. And I'm going to bank on the situation. I think LA made this trade thinking they're going to go for it. They're 1 point out of a wild card spot in the West, and I think they're really trying to push their offense. They need it. So I think Panarin is going to be a big part of their offense moving forward. I think the power play is going to get started and going to get going. I just have zero faith in the Devils. Zero faith in the Devils, almost less than Jack Hughes. Like you said, I'm not big on buying the injury narrative, but it's been tough this year for him. And seeing the comments that he made and how the Devils have been playing without him, even when they had him until he got injured recently, they were not really generating a lot. I think that it's going to be close. I think they could be comparable rest of season, honestly. The only thing that I would give to Jack Hughes is the fantasy hockey playoff schedule is slightly better. But yeah, I really think think about if the Kings start making a push and they kind of solidify themselves more in the Pacific or in a wild card spot, and they're winning more games, they're going to want to win more games, and they have to make the playoffs. The Devils are out of it; they're not making the playoffs. The Devils are done; they're cooked. They have nothing to play for. They're just going to be dejected and ride off into the sunset this season. Jacob Markstrom's going to let in 8 goals a game. Like, it's over. So I think the Kings have more to play for. I think Panarin has more to play for than Jack Hughes. So I think Jack Hughes is the individual better player. And so it's interesting to take the true talent there, but it has been a disaster season. I don't think that magically turns around the last 30 games of the season after the Olympics here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I could definitely, you paint a pretty picture, and I could see it. I could see it happening. Even ignoring Jack Hughes's injury risk or potential to not play in all the fantasy hockey playoff games. Yeah, I could see Panarin hitting that like 100-point pace and Jack Hughes hitting that like a 90-point pace, and that'll give you Panarin better value there.
Yeah. Next one, we got Roman Josi versus Jake Sanderson. We kind of discussed about Nashville and how Roman Josi has been playing recently. Jake Sanderson is no slouch either. He's been a pretty good defenseman, top probably 7 to 10 defenseman this year. Puts up some elite block numbers, good shot numbers, and when that power play is going, he's a big part of it. He's good off the rush as well. I think rest of season this is pretty interesting. I'll take the first one. I'm going to go Jake Sanderson here. And I'm going to go Jake Sanderson because I do believe that Nashville is going to be sellers at the deadline. And I think that even though, as you kind of said, Roman Josi will be the one least affected by it, and he can kind of provide offensive himself, I do think it'll affect them as a whole if he has to play more defensively and if he has to log more minutes. I think Jake Sanderson and the Senators, again, have just a little bit more of the offensive touch there. He's going to be a part of that more. So I'll take Jake Sanderson in this defensive battle.
All right. Interesting. I think I'm going to join you. I'm
stick with your guy.
I think it's real close. As I said, Josi was top 3 in the last month. Dahlin was second. Sanderson was right up there at number 5. And I think his numbers are sustainable here at this 67-point pace. Where Josi, if you look at the last month, though he's going off. He's having a heater in the last month, and that's not sustainable. I think we could definitely see a 65-point pace rest of the season from Josi. But Sanderson, I think, has the safer floor and just as high a ceiling. His shooting percentage is at 9%, which is fine for a highly skilled defenseman. The on-ice shooting percentage is at 13.5%, which I think is fine on the Senators team. I think they're both really close, but I am going with you on Jake Sanderson.
All right. Disappointing. I was going to hear you defend Josi. You got some more comments here. We got Wyatt Boone, Standard Yahoo Fantasy Points League. I'm giving up pasta and veggie and getting back Stutzla and Nikas. That is a interesting one. I'll throw it to you first, Ryan.
Yeah. I don't love that off the bat. Even just ignoring Vejmelka, just looking at Pasternak for Nikas and Stutzla, that's real close. Pasta is the best player there, and Boston has a great playoff schedule. Colorado has a good playoff schedule too, Ottawa too, but Boston has one better playoff schedule, one better off night there. So just looking at that, it's interesting. It's similar. Vejmelka there in a standard fantasy points league that pretty much, I think they value wins a lot. Vejmelka actually is pretty valuable there as the number one in Utah. So yeah, even though we're giving up a goalie and we're 0G, 0G, I'd rather keep the goalie and keep Pasta rather than making this trade.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think, like you said, like Pasta for Stutzla and Nikas by itself, I think you could argue for the other side of the trade, but maybe this guy's got stacked goalies, and that's kind of why he's doing it, which could be a consideration. I think the value's there for Pasta. Like Stutzla and Nikas are no slouches. They're both. I mean, Stutzla's pacing for like 90 points, Nikas over 100. So, I think there's value in this. I think it's actually kind of fair, really, but I still would side with you. If I had to pick a side, I would still keep Pasta and Vejmelka over Stutzla and Nikas.
Yeah.
Kyle DB traded Tage, Stutzla, Laffy for Kucherov, Hyman yesterday in standard Yahoo Cats League. Thoughts? I'm in second and needed more production. Tage, Stutzla, Laffy for Kucherov and Hyman. Yeah, that is a smash. I would wholeheartedly approve this trade. Kucherov is making the push for his Art Ross, and I mean, it doesn't seem like anything's going to stop him, even not getting Panarin. So, yeah, I think Kucherov and Hyman, again, with what he's the backboard for McDavid and Draisaitl on that power play. Like, so, I like Hyman almost as much as Stutzla and Kucherov for Laffy and Tage. Like, yeah, I think you're kind of laughing. You, Ryan?
Yeah, I totally agree. 2 for 1. I mean, 3 for 2 here, and you're getting the best player in Kucherov, and I think it's pretty fair value, so I'm doing this trade.
There we go. And Breadman again, should we trade Panarin now for a lateral trade / playoff schedule upgrade? Who are we looking at, fam? I think this is a good question and a good point. For me, I don't want to give up Panarin for anything for a schedule play for a lesser player, if that makes sense. Like I was kind of told in one of my leagues, like, again, I own him in all 4 of my leagues that I'm in. You got to trade Panarin. He's on the Kings now. Go trade for like Drake Batherson or, go trade for Stamp. Like I'm not going to be trading Artemi Panarin with the talent that he has for a better playoff schedule just to get like an extra game or 2 played. I still think he's going to be very productive on the Kings. I wouldn't be selling him just because he got traded to the Kings. That's my official take on it. Now, if you can get, a good deal for it, where you're getting back a player of similar like talent level with a better playoff schedule, sure. But, I wouldn't be selling Panarin for a lesser player with a better schedule, Ryan.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you're looking at the schedules, you're looking at Rangers, Boston, Pittsburgh, Boston. Like, sure, if you can get Pasternak for Panarin and like nothing, like one extra little thing there, sure, go ahead and do that. That I'd be fine with. But the Rangers, there's no one on the Rangers now that I'd rather have. Pittsburgh, I would not go for Crosby as like a lateral move. I think Panarin has much higher ceiling there. And then everyone else, in terms of scheduling boost from the playoffs, it's like one extra game. So what are you doing? Maybe Martin Necas, but even that is a risky move.
Yeah, nope. I would agree with all of that. Well, that's going to bring us to the end of this one. Kind of shorter one without Brian this time, but we'll take it. Trying to digest all the Panarin trade news. Hopefully we'll get more near the trade deadline as well. We're heading into the Olympics here. We'll be getting back to it. We're going to have some more interesting episodes coming up as well. We'll kind of go over some of our takes from the season, some of our trades, maybe review some of our own trades, how we fleeced ourselves or did the fleecing. And then we'll kind of get into some ideas for shows moving forward. Any thoughts as we wrap up here, Ryan?
Just that next week, February 12th, we are running a live redraft mock draft. We're doing a full live mock draft with all NHL fantasy players, and we're going full 20 rounds from pick number 1 all the way to the end. And if you want in on that, DM me in the Discord and I'll get you in the league. Next week at 8:40 is when the draft starts.
I just want to know where you're taking Thomas Harley in this draft.
I'll get him round 18, round 17.
All right. Well, that's all we've got for this episode. Hopefully it brought you some value and helped you get a little bit better at fantasy hockey today. Many thanks to Matt Creamer for supplying the music for the pod. Thanks for listening. Now go crush your fantasy hockey leagues.